Hello, namaste, radhe radhe. My name is Vasanta. I welcome you to my channel. I'm going to be predicting from now on. We started just a few months ago, and we started with the predictions about the solar eclipse. And gladly, we had 12,000 views. So I have realized that, my family and friends, they've been telling me for years to make more videos, to give predictions and just to generally help you with your daily lives so that you can know what to expect. Vedic Astrology is a wonderful way to be able to know what is going on in the world. And I find that by knowing astrology and the movement of the planets, specifically with the calculations of the Cyril zodiac, it can help us to plan everything according to in the way that we act. You see, we cannot really change the events that are there to happen, but we can certainly change the way in which we react to those events, and that can bring a lot of forward a lot of peace. So let's bring forward, and let's start with the predictions for the month of September of this 2017. So we got a lot going on because if you remember last month, we had very significant events, which were specifically the presence of the solar eclipse in the heart of Leo. And this basically means that the self-confidence of your leadership, or many of our leaders, was directly threatened. So this is the test that we passed. Whenever there's an eclipse in a point, in the zodiac, we look for the indications of that point. In this case, it was in Leo, so it basically means, everything that has to do with the self and self-esteem. Also, for creative artists, it gave them the opportunity to realize, it's a bit of a wake-up call. Because eclipse energy brings about change. So it was a bit of a wake-up call to everybody to take up the mission in your life and, to start doing what you're supposed to be doing. And to have, in a sense, when there's a lot of darkness, those people that carry light like stars in the night, they realize they have to shine, brighter than ever before, because when there's periods of darkness, then light is needed. So, starting off with September, there's many things going on. The first one of the important things is that, just a few days ago, in September, what you're going to see is that Mars went into Leo. Mars was fallen in Cancer, and it conjuncted Rahu in Cancer in the last degrees called Gandanta. If you've been following my channel, then you know that these degrees are treacherous, because Gandanta, literally means a knot or drowning. Gandanta happens in the first degrees of a fire sign and the last degrees of a water sign. So every sign has an evolution, and in the sign of Cancer specifically, the evolution is about caring and safety and protection for our family and for the people that matter in our lives. So what you're going to notice during this time is that people are going to increasingly be very aware of the safety in their lives. Nevertheless, Mars has moved from Cancer, it has moved to Leo, and Mars does well in Leo, but of course, Mars being the planet of war and the planet of taking action, the instinct of survival inside of all of us, the instinct of preservation inside of all of us, the instinct of war inside of all of us is controlled by planet Mars. Now, Mars can bring about a lot of good things in the world, such as, who doesn't like sports? So, for example, people that perform a lot of sports are usually people that have very strong Mars-oriented energy. And, this is what drives them. The main drive in an athlete would be Mars energy. And what happens when Mars goes to Leo is Mars gets self-confidence. And during this month, so that you can prepare, let's, jump right in. And Mars in Leo is going to be conjunct with Mercury for most of the month. Now, as we start September, planet Mercury, the planet of communications, intelligence, speech, and basically logic, this planet has been retrograde for the past month. So if you have been noticing that your TV or your computer or your phone have been failing, or that if if you're a programmer, or if you work with the internet or any type of technology related area of life, what you will have noticed is that Mercury, as it went retrograde, it really messes things up in that area. So now on the 6th of September, gladly, Mercury is going to go back into direct motion, and it'll do so in Leo. So the interesting thing about this month is that Mercury is going to go direct in exactly where the eclipse happened, on that exact degree where the eclipse happened. And so this is also significant. So a lot of the things that were not said or communicated properly during the eclipse are gonna, by the nature of the times, gonna come forward towards the 6th of September. Now, that's not it. Mercury also conjuncts planet Mars in this same degree. And planet Mars conjunct Mercury gives for a very impulsive rhetoric. So, the number one thing to remember is if we remember the Dharma code, which is, the code that the Vedic wisdom has left us behind. The Dharma code works in four, by embracing four principles, which are the principle of purity, the principle of discipline, the principle of truth, and the principle of nonviolence. Now, when planets are occupying fire signs, fire corresponds naturally to the domain of discipline because it corresponds to the domain of doing. So it is when we take actions. So in this case, when we are fighting for what we believe in, we take an action. And when we are communicating through words, through our speech, if you value, yes, your human form of life, you will soon realize that, to be able to speak is certainly a blessing, and it is certainly a power. Although we give it for granted, it is certainly a power that we have. And words have power, and words have meaning. So if you assign to the words you say, reflection and understanding that for everything that we do, there's going to be, an effect. And that we, by taking actions, we're going to be, collecting whatever we plant. We're going to reap the result of those actions. So when Mercury conjuncts Mars this month, try to remember the Dharma code, and try to remember the area of fire where it says the domain of action corresponds to the domain of discipline. So the value is discipline. And, keep close watch to not talk too much during this month, and not say things that afterwards you may be regretting, or that you may be sorry for the things you said to another person. Now the conjunction goes all the way through, through the month of September. Mars and Mercury are going to be together. So it gives for a lot of, we know in Vedic wisdom that we are in the Kali Yuga. And the Kali Yuga is the era of quarrel and deceit. So a lot of this quarreling tendency is going to come forward during the month of September. So be very, very careful with your words, and also be very careful with your actions. Now, many people ask, in what way can we redirect that energy so that it can produce positivity? Well, you're certainly going to be feeling like, for the first time in the year, maybe there's a lot of positive energy coming in, and that energy can be very creative. So fire also means creativity, it means expression, and it means identity. So what you're going to be experiencing during this month is a very increased need for variety. And the need for variety is expressed through identity, or through expressing our personal point of view. So, constructive ways to do it is through respectful speech. always, trying to take into account that maybe I don't agree with the person in front of me, but that does not mean that I don't get to respect them. So always have respect, at the forefront of your relationships. Remember, there is nothing in life that if you choose to can stop you from being a gentleman or a lady or behaving in that way. So this is why the Dharma code is very, very important. And, the code of values in our life is very, very important because, again, the tests, like the seasons, the motion of the planets, we cannot stop that. But we can face them and we can walk through them through the point of view of Vedic wisdom. Or, if you're in a Christian tradition or in a Buddhist tradition, you will find that, for example, the Buddhists, they also follow the Noble Truths. And, the Christians follow the commandments. So in every philosophical system, every religious system, and in every, of course, spiritual connection in the universe, what we're going to have is, we're going to have a set of values. And values, what they do is they set forward, states of consciousness that are eligible or that are pleasant for everybody around us. So during this month, it is very, very important for us to remember to have the value of discipline, very clearly in front of us. Now, how can we go about discharging this energy, this, increased fire energy that we're going to be having in the month? Remember that fire is a sign of passion. So Leo is a very, very passionate sign. It's a hot sign. It's extremely passionate about what he believes. So remember, there's going to be a lot of opinions out there, and everybody's going to be very adamant about their own personal point of view or their own personal opinion. And, just remember that every coin has two sides, and that we might just be looking at one side of the coin and maybe not the other one. And, we may be saying that, from my point of view, the coin says one, and then the other person might be saying, from my point of view, then, I see an emblem or a picture or a logo, because it's the other side of the coin. So try to remember that. Try to put yourselves in the shoes of the other person and try to see life from their point of view. And you will soon realize that the only reason why they are having that point of view is because, so far they have that experience. Even though we may be mistaken, remember that you have the capacity to enter dialogue, and intelligent dialogue at that, human dialogue, and nonviolent dialogue at that. So in that sense, what you're going to be seeing all over the world is that, political figures, especially world leaders, are going to be put to the test this month, about the choices they take. From what I'm seeing, it's going to be a very, this month is going to mark history. We are having the energy of the eclipse, which was basically a wake-up call for all of us to really shine our personal light to the planet and to be determined in giving that light to the planet without the fear that may come from, being out in the public or, really expressing our opinion. But now, what's happening is the world events are going to accelerate in such way that, very, very important changes are going to come towards the end of September, beginning of October. Another one of the things that we're going to having is that, in the beginning of the month, we're going to have the sun, yes? It's also going to be in Leo. So adding to the energy of Mars and Mercury, in Leo, we're going to add the energy of the sun. So what you can expect is, a lot of self-confidence in people, but also the energy is going to be very, very beautiful for creation. It's going to be very beautiful for composition. It's going to be very beautiful for the performance of the art or the maintenance of culture. Or if you've been thinking about starting a new project, you're certainly going to feel the influx of energy. Again, it's a month of a lot of passion. So it can be that it leads you to new relationships, to talking to people that you never thought you were going to be talking, before, to going out there and very strongly saying what, your opinion is, etc. And then finally, on the 16th, we're also having Venus going into Leo as well. So when, usually when Venus and Mars conjunct, we have a very passionate type of configuration or constellation. So, you know, Mars conjunct Mercury, conjunct Venus, conjunct Leo, conjunct the Sun in Leo is going to give for a very, you know, for a pretty passion month. So make sure, my insight on this, make sure that you have the quality of discipline, and that you're following the domain of doing in the proper way. So it's noble actions for noble results. And that starts with your meditation. Before you take an action, or before somebody takes you out of your cool, try to think about, why am I about to take this action, and what good is it going to produce? If it's not going to produce good, then why would you take that action? Being right is not the goal. The goal is to create goodness, abundance, and peace for everybody. So now, going forward on the good news is that on September the 13th, planet Jupiter enters Libra. And planet Jupiter has been in Virgo for the past few years. For the past year. And what has happened, there has been a lot of, consciousness of social reform, all around the world. And, basically investing in infrastructure. So perhaps you invested in your house, or you invested in a new car, or you invested in, rebuilding something old, or refurbishing something that was, that needed repair, etc. But now, what's happening is, when planet Jupiter goes into Libra, then it is controlled by planet Venus. And planet Venus, as you know, is the planet of love and pleasure and comfort. So when Jupiter goes into Libra, then everything that has to do with, number one, diplomacy, number two, the arts, poetry, dialogue, and, searching for harmony is exalted. Why? Because planet Jupiter in Sanskrit is known as planet Guru, and Guru is the guide for everybody. So when planet Guru goes into the house of Libra, into the sign of Libra, then, the awareness of the fact that we could all, use the quality of our dialogue to search for peace and for harmony and for, agree in diversity, that is possible. So it's going to be a very beautiful year, starting 13th of September is going to be a very beautiful year, where we're going to get the chance to try out dialogue through nonviolence. Now, if we go again to the Dharma code, what we're going to see is that Libra is a sign of air. Just as Leo is a sign of fire, then Libra is a sign of air. And air signs correspond to the value of purity. So purity in thinking, which is, we're going to try to visualize where it is that we're going with our actions. Before taking action, there's a saying, before you activate, meditate. So, if we take a moment to meditate before acting during this year, then planet Jupiter is certainly going to help us to see a future where there is peace, and there is community, and there is dialogue, and, there is democracy. And there is, an openness to the ideas that could bring forward peace to the world. So you can expect advancements in the area of technology. You can expect advancements in the area of studies. In universities, you'll see that new curricula is open in universities around the world that includes more diverse points of view, from the ones that we currently have. And there's going to be new careers coming forward. You can expect a wonderful year in the movies, etc. So all of this is going to happen, due to the presence of Jupiter in Libra. Now, when Jupiter enters Libra, it is no coincidence that it enters while Venus is in Leo. So, a lot of that self-confidence that we're going to be experiencing during this local month, is going to be reflected also in the, in the entrance of Jupiter in Libra. So expect, to hear a lot about the United Nations, or, leagues of countries coming together to try to make peace wherever peace needs to be made. So peace is going to start being one of the main themes, as, social and populist philosophies were the tendency during the past year where Jupiter was in Virgo, because Virgo is a populist sign. what we're gonna see is the power of the populist is gonna, recede and give power to, to the dialogue of the people that, certainly have the wisdom. And, the archetype for Libra is certainly the sage. And what the sage is looking for is, to act with wisdom, learning from the past, and also projecting towards the future with a positive spirit and what is good for all, really. So, Jupiter is the peacemaker. So you can expect that during this month there's going to be a lot of there's going to be a fight, certainly for very selfish points of view, but there's also going to be those people that are acting in the world as instigators for peace, or as warriors for peace. So the warrior for peace is like, Mahatma Gandhi. He's a warrior for peace, and he showed the world that there's a different way that revolutions can be done. So try to remember this while you go through the month. Then on September 16th, the moon is going to conjunct planet Rahu in Cancer. And again, remember that Rahu has gone into Cancer. So the karmic challenges that we're going to start to face during this month, remember, karmic means that the world needs to face, these challenges, and the challenges are going to be emotional. When Rahu, or the shadow planet, which represents a very unconscious drive for learning or for tasting, for sampling things. So planet Rahu has gone into Cancer, and on the 16th it will conjunct the moon. So this means that there's going to be a very big concern about personal safety, security, and the future of our families. So expect that, you'll be paying more attention if you have a family, if you're listening out there. If you have a family, you're going to be paying way more attention on the way that you spend your money, on the way that you invest your money, on the way that you found security through money, on the way that you're going to try to procure safety for your family. So you can expect this as well. Now the value, if we go back to the Dharma code, the value that we most importantly need to practice during this time, again, is non-violence. In Sanskrit it's called ahimsa. The Hindus know it as ahimsa. And ahimsa means not just non-violence, but it means to desire the supreme welfare for everybody, for all living entities. So it's kindness. It has to do with our relationships with other entities, with the relationships between our consciousness and the consciousness of other entities. So, usually you're going to see that most of the spiritual leaders in the world, one of the topmost things and, one of the topmost values that they practice is this ahimsa, and this respect for everybody, around them. And for, they try to certainly give the message that, we start with respect, because love without respect, respect is what precedes love. And if we cannot love somebody, we can at least respect their right to live. So Rahu in Cancer takes us back to the value of ahimsa, or non-violence, where we're going to be understanding the vulnerability of those around us, the humanity of those around us. So it's emotions in a human level. When you go a level up, you go to Scorpio, and that's going to be psychological. That's where water works in psychology. And then if you go a level up, you're going to find Pisces, which is the spiritual level of the water sign. So, the basic test that Rahu is putting forward, during this month and throughout the next year and a half is going to be one of ahimsa, or trying to act in non-violence. So, more than ever, you're going to come to, the awareness that, GMO products are bad for you, bad for your family, that, exploiting natural resources of energy, can damage the environment, that exploiting the lives of animals in order to, intake food and to intake their, their bodies, as human beings. We're going to become aware during this time of the sensitivity of animals. So you can expect a growth in vegetarianism throughout the world. It will start during this time. Now, from September 16 onwards, what you're going to notice is that all the planets are going to be on one side of Rahu and Ketu, the north of the moon, and this is traditionally known as the Kalasarpa Yoga. And the Kalasarpa Yoga basically explains that there is a fate that the world has to go through this month. So we're going to have it towards the end of the month, especially because Pluto conjunct Saturn in Sagittarius. Again, Sagittarius being a philosophical fire sign, again calls forward for the value of discipline. So if you're a world leader, if you're a manager, if you're a family leader during this month, remember that the values that you're working with is topmost discipline and non-violence. And remember that before you activate, try to meditate, because your best asset, thank God, thank the Lord, that planet Jupiter has entered Libra. So, allow yourself to have 10 minutes of meditation in the morning, 10 minutes where you go in to yourself, where you breathe in calm, and where you say your prayers of gratitude, where you focus on the type of future that you would like for yourself, for your family, for the people you care about, for those around you, for our planet. Try to see in what way you can find a peaceful solution and a peaceful resolution to the challenges that are certainly awaiting for us in the path. And, try to see yourself as a source of light and love. Try to realize that, at your core as a human being, you are a source of love, and that your destiny is to bring peace, love, and light, and ultimately ananda, or spiritual bliss, into this world. So if you see yourself, and if you create from the platform where the core goal and the core reality is to accept oneself as a source of light and a source of love, the creations or the actions that we're going to be taking in this world are going to be for good and not for evil. So with this, I close today, and remind you that you have the choice. You always have a choice in which way to act. If you practice the 4 values of Dharma, you will be a little closer to heaven. Remember that you are not alone. Remember that God is extremely kind. He's always listening to you and your prayers. And in whatever tradition you may be connecting with God, remember that what binds us all and what unites us all is that the one thing that we have in common is that we all have a relationship with God, and that we all aspire to love as the core value of our lives. That is the one thing we all share together. We all desire love, and we all desire to have a loving connection with absolute consciousness, a loving connection with God, and a loving connection with all around us. So practicing values is a very beautiful way to get there. So I invite you to practice the values in your tradition. And I'm going to say goodbye for today. Thank you for watching. Please remember to subscribe. You can subscribe in the button below. And if you have any questions, please go ahead and leave me a comment. I promise to you that I will keep doing these videos, because the response has been overwhelming. Over 12,000 people have been watching, and hundreds have been sending their letters of appreciation. So from my side, thank you. If you're watching, thank you. I am very grateful to be able to perform this service. It was given to me by my Shiksha Guru. He kindly appointed me to this service. He said I should help as much as I can so that everybody can, find their way and know what's going on in the program. So thank you for allowing me to enter the space of your consciousness, and for kindly receiving my offering. So from my side, namaste. I honor the divine in you, and Radhe Radhe. May the goddess of love live and reign in your heart.